Lately, I've been thinking about all of the misandry in our modern culture that seems so ubiquitous and yet completely accepted and unquestioned. Girl Writes What brings up a lot of excellent points regarding these issues, which is why I thought I would make my first video under this account as a response to her. Anyway, there are two frequently used words that I feel essentially express misandry, a hatred of men, and I wanted to talk about both of them. The first of these words is creepy. Now, if you're a woman like me, you've probably said this word numerous times and never gave it a second thought. You've probably encountered guys that just seemed off in some regard, that repulsed you on some level, and you thought of them, or even referred to them, behind their backs at least, as being creepy. I know that I've called guys creepy, or at least thought of them that way, without really analyzing why. Once I took the time to reflect a bit on the kind of guys who get called creepy and the kind who don't, I decided that I would refrain from thinking of men in that way. Ultimately, I realized that being creepy has more to do with women's emotional reactions to men than anything wrong about his character. Guys get called creepy not because of the merit of their character on any kind of objective level. The reason a man is typically called a creep is because certain women find him unattractive, while the supposed creep finds those women attractive, which is why the term is misandrous by its very nature, because it projects danger, aggression, or nefarious motives onto a man for the sole reason of being found unattractive to women. Some of you may be thinking, there's more to it than that. Creepy guys say scary things, they act in weird ways, act in inappropriate ways. Sometimes certain inappropriate behavior does get labeled as creepy, but it usually has to do more with the guy who is saying those things than the words themselves. If you think back on the men that you have known in your life, you can probably recall men that have been flirtatious or have even acted downright crudely, and because they were attractive or charismatic, they didn't seem creepy at all, but rather charming and sexy. You may also recall other men who were called creepy for far more benign behavior, because they were socially inept or physically unattractive. You see, women simply can't concede that they find a man unattractive for shallow reasons. Reasons that, if you examined them, are no more enlightened than a man's attraction towards big boobs or shapely butt. So women elevate their own desires into some profound character judgment. They just know that this unsexy guy is really a serial killer, while this handsome charmer must have a heart of gold. It relegates a man's character to nothing more than what women think of him, of how pleasing he is to women, which is why the idea of creepiness, at least how it's usually used, is so derogatory towards men. It also ties into all the fury that feminists express about men propositioning women, and the controversies over women dressing or acting provocatively. I mean, it's no secret to anyone with a bit of common sense that women have many things to gain by acting provocatively, by wearing sexy clothing, by flirting, by making sexual jokes, or by making themselves seem available. They can gain not only a potential mate, but gain the positive attention and the ego boost that this attention provides. In our modern culture, where many taboos against this kind of behavior in women have disappeared, or at least heavily declined, there are fewer drawbacks for women acting in an overtly sexual way. Modern women can have their cake and eat it too. But this is where the creeps come in. There is one downside to flirtatiousness that has not been eliminated. The fact that a woman making a spectacle of herself in public does not just gain the attention of hot guys, but also of the men that she does not find attractive. When an unattractive man starts to express a romantic interest towards her, that is when he becomes creepy in her eyes. That is when she turns her own shallow desires into a judgment of a man's character, where she perceives an attraction toward her as creepy, and she interprets his expression of that attraction as hostility. That is why Rebecca Watson became so offended when she was asked to go on a coffee date. You see, Rebecca Watson gives lectures at skeptics' conferences. She has acted provocatively at conferences before this one. During one conference, there are pictures of her laughing with dollar bills stuffed down the front of her tank top. But when a guy asked Rebecca Watson to have coffee with him at a conference, she became outraged. She announced, "It creeps me out. and makes me uncomfortable when men sexualize me. She went on to say that she felt threatened by his advances and warned other men that this is not how you should treat women. If you want to learn more about Rebecca Watson's hypocrisy, definitely check out Thunderfoot's video, which I'll link below. So, because this poor guy creeps her out, he obviously must be dangerous. He must have bad intentions. Why is he creepy? Well, because she finds him attractive. When a sexy guy flirts with her, it isn't sexual harassment. It's empowering. Go ahead and stuff some more dollar bills down her bra. It is only when the unattractive or socially inept guys don't behave like eunuchs that it becomes an unsafe space for women. Now there's another word, in addition to creepy, that has become little more than an attack on men in our society. That word is objectification. I will discuss that term in my next video, so stay tuned.